immersion, which is, again, this way the brain values social emotional experiences, is shared. It's contagious. So if that employee loves what they do and shares that with the customer, I'm raising the customer's immersion, but I'm also reflecting that back on the employee. Now the employee feels great. Wow, these customers really had a great time, and I could provide that for them. How nice is that?
Hey everyone, it's Amy Lynn Durham, and you're listening to Create Magic at Work. Create Magic at Work is on a mission to equip senior leaders with tools they need to be a true quantum leader and actually understand what that means. Improve employee engagement, retain top talent, and transform your workplace culture to have less drama and stress. So let's start making magic. Welcome to another episode of Create Magic at Work. Today is going to be interesting. So hopefully if you're driving, you're buckled up and you're ready because I have Dr. Paul Zak on the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Paul Zak. He's a distinguished university professor at Claremont Graduate University and is in the top 3% of most cited scientists.
That's 0.3%. Hold on. That's 0.3%, Amy Lynn. That's important.
0.3%. Right. Thank you. So we have a scientist for everyone today. All of us in the corporate grind, we're bringing a scientist here. So you'll see why in a second. Paul's 2 decades of research extending the boundaries of behavioral neuroscience have taken him from the Pentagon to Fortune 50 boardrooms to the rainforest of Papua New Guinea. His most recent book is Immersion, The Science of the Extraordinary and the Source of Happiness. We talk a lot about happiness on Create Magic at Work, and we even question if it really even is a thing. So I'm excited to dive into that with you today, Paul. Besides his academic appointment, he's a 4-time tech entrepreneur. In 2017, he founded Immersion Neuroscience, a software platform that allows anyone to measure what the brain loves in real time that is used to improve outcomes in entertainment, education, advertising, and emotional health. He's a regular TED speaker and has appeared on Good Morning America, Dr. Phil, Fox and Friends, ABC Evening News, and now Create Magic at Work. And his work has been reported in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Time, The Economist, Scientific American, Fast Company, Forbes, and many others. Paul, welcome to Create Magic at Work.
What a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you, Amy Lynn.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I want to dive right into your book, if you don't mind. Immersion, The Science of the Extraordinary and the Source of Happiness. A couple of things stood out to me as I was reading through it. And one data point that I wanted to touch on with you, and that was that only 10% of employee training works. Do you recall that from your book? That because I hear that a lot on LinkedIn, and like training programs don't even work for employees. Why are we paying for these? In your book, I think you said it costs a company $1,300 per employee annually. And I remember in my corporate executive job, we went through a lot of training, and there was a lot of dollars that were put towards training. So what is your take on that?
So the question is why, right? So one of our longest subscribers to the platform we built to measure what your brain values is Accenture. They've been very public, and they let us put some of their data in the book. Accenture, which is about an $18 billion revenue company, spends about $1 billion annually training their employees, upskilling them to create more value for the organization. And the only way they had to measure that was that post-event survey that we've all done. Did you like the lunch? How was the keynote speaker? Was the chair comfortable? I don't care about any of that, right? I care about, did I effectively get this information into your brain so that when you get back to the office on Monday, you can create more value? And from the employee perspective, get the satisfaction of having created more value, right? So there's a win-win space there. So what Accenture found using our platform is that people cannot stay immersed neurologically for more than 20 minutes without a change. So they have revamped their entire employee training into 20-minute segments. So for example, the facilitator may speak for no more than 20 minutes. Here's what we're doing, here's our plan, then change. Maybe we do some table work, or we watch a video, or we do something else, right? Some worksheet, and then a switch after 20 minutes. And so this neurologic state I'm calling immersion, which is how the brain values social emotional experiences, is highly metabolically costly. It shows the brain is making an investment in the experience you're having. Therefore, Accenture has found they also need longer breaks. So again, we're all overeducated. We've learned to sit on our butts for 8 hours a day. We can do that. Doesn't mean our brains work at that speed. So I think this whole book is about, in my work, is about optimizing those experiences to get the most value out of them, both for the attendees and for the organizers.
So if I'm holding a training for my team, to get the most from that would be to give them a break every 20 minutes and to shift into something different when we come back from that break. Is that what I'm hearing?
We'll really shift every 20 minutes, but I think a break every hour or so. And that break's got to be more than just a 5-minute bio break. Think of another sort of 20-minute break. So I call this the 20-20-20 rule. And so if I'm giving, say, an hour keynote, I mean, I have to base my life on my own data, right? So what I'll do is if I'm doing for an hour, I'll make sure I'm putting in videos, I'm talking to the audience, I'm mixing it up so that your brain doesn't return to that kind of idle state. So the brain takes so much energy to run, about 20% of our calories, it just wants to idle. So I want to snap you out of that, right? I'm going to, okay, things are happening, right? So your brain's going, oh, holy crap, what's going on here? Now I'm going to, again, crank up the investment, the energy investment to really absorb that information and make it fun, by the way. So highly immersive experiences. I'm using immersion with a capital I as this name for the neurologic state my research uncovered, which is how we value experiences. These highly immersive experiences are really enjoyable. If I can get you into one of these, it's like, wow, what just happened here? And now I'm exhausted and I need to recover.
That makes so much sense from an energetic perspective. Like what we give out, we will take away in some form. Like I'm just thinking of it in the spiritual intelligence way. When we think of karma and give and take and energy expenditure, it almost like meets the neuroscience of it as well. Just one of my musings. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you about that I found interesting in this science of the extraordinary is you mentioned for anywhere really, but I'm thinking in terms of the workplace, that one of the best ways to, and again, if I'm saying this wrong, correct me, but one of the best ways to get productivity from your team is rapid and consistent feedback. One of the most popular episodes on Create Magic at Work was on the art of giving feedback, in particular to our Gen Z colleagues, which lots of people found very interesting. So I want to hear more about this rapid and consistent feedback that you talk about.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, I'm always thinking about how to optimize the way the brain works for the tasks that we're doing. So that's where this comes from. Yeah, so I'm a big believer in the daily huddle. I love this daily stand-up, and it's basically 3 questions for me. What'd you do yesterday? What's your plan today? And what can I help you with? So that really leads us into the servant leader model, right? My job as a leader is to make sure that you are successful. You're completing your tasks. You're getting the satisfaction from doing that. Many people have said this, but the war for talent has long been over. Talent has won. These talented individuals who create value for organizations are extremely valuable, and we should treat them that way. And so in this sort of coaching model, I'm doing check-ins, right? I'm on Slack all the time. I'm checking to make sure I can help you get unstuck on something. And then by having that public daily huddle, then we're all up to speed on what we're doing and also what we need help with. So you probably have this experience as well as I have, but many times on daily huddles, I mean, a couple times a week, someone say like, man, I'm working on this thing and I'm not exactly sure. And then not me, but someone else from the team will go, oh yeah, you know what? I know how to solve that problem. Blah, blah. Right. So now we're actually finding best practice by having this sharing of what we're doing. And so in this coaching model, I never believe this Gallup data that 2/3 of employees said they're disengaged. So I don't know what engagement is. I think it's just overused. It's meaningless. But if you work with me, and I have several organizations, man, I'm talking to you every day. I know what's going on. You got goals, you got milestones. We're working on that. Now, we may adjust those goals and milestones, but at the same time, if I don't know what you're doing, how can I be a good leader, right? So at least for my direct reports, I'm talking to them all the time. So in this coaching model, I want you to be successful. You are creating value for our organization, which means we can survive and maintain, and you keep your job, and everyone gets paid, and our customers are happy. So I really think that coaching model is the future.
I agree. Coaching model is definitely the future, but I'm an executive coach. So of course I'm going to agree with that fully.
Let's say it's the present. Why am I saying future? It's the present right now. Yeah, coaching model.
I want to go a little bit deeper on this rapid and consistent feedback. What if someone's listening right now, like, yeah, I have daily huddles with my team, with my supervisor, and we just tell them what they want to hear to keep it moving. And there's no psychological safety. Or what if somebody is listening that's a team leader and they're like, I don't feel like my team is even communicative in these virtual water. When you were sharing, I was thinking, oh, these are like virtual water cooler talk, right? What's some advice you could give to someone that needs to tap into that a little bit more, creating some psychological safety so people are sharing what's truly going on?
Right. So the first is if I want you to be fully immersed in what you're doing, again, immersion with a capital I, really investing a lot of resources, doing something that's hard but achievable, right? That's what people really enjoy. And then getting feedback from that. So first of all, feedback important. If I'm a servant leader, when you meet or exceed that goal, I've got to give you recognition. Great job, Amy Lynn. That was a heck of a project. Hey, tell the team tomorrow morning how you finished this project on time and under budget. And I want to recognize all that from a human or social perspective. So that's the first. What inhibits the brain's ability to be fully immersed? Lack of psychological safety. If I'm stressed out because my boss just yelled at me, by the way, no yelling at work. No. Regulate your emotions. If you're unhappy, take a walk. Don't be yelling at people. That's just stupid. Or the dog died or the kid's sick, right? All that reduces our ability to put all of our metabolic resources into what we're doing at work. And so the first thing is you've got to establish psychological safety. So as you know, in the platform we built at Immersion Neuroscience, we created the first physiologic measure of psychological safety. So I don't have to ask my team in a survey every week or every month. I can actually just measure that and ask, hey, am I creating a workplace where people can truly thrive? And I mean thriving in 3 dimensions: personally, professionally, and spiritually, right? Spiritually means besides work and family, what else do you do to make you feel like you're having an impact on the planet? And if people don't have those 3 dimensions, at least in reasonable, balance, they're going to burn out. They're not going to be at all satisfied with what they're doing, and they're not going to perform well. And so psych safety is the first thing. And companies like Australia, as you may know, have passed laws requiring that workplaces demonstrate they've created emotionally safe environments for employees. It's very interesting. But even without regulation, if I want you to perform from a neuroscience perspective, I've got to create the conditions where you feel sufficiently comfortable. Not relaxed, nothing to do, bored. That's not good. No, you should be on. I should have goals, but you should feel comfortable enough to say, I need help. I'm stuck. I think this is a bad decision. I don't know why we're doing this. Okay, let's have that discussion. I want to bring all those brains into my decision-making process as a leader.
I think it's interesting. We've talked about psychological safety, quite a bit on Create Magic at Work. And you're the first guest that has said, hey, spirituality is a part of psychological safety in the workplace. And, we talk about spiritual intelligence all the time at Create Magic at Work. So if someone is listening, like, how do I want to elevate the psychological safety of my team? how do I incorporate spirituality into that? What are some faith neutral ways or recommends that someone could do that?
I mean, there's certainly the kind of Google approach, do 3 minutes of eyes closed silence before you begin a meeting. That's fine. It doesn't have to have a religious component, but just to get people relaxed and centered. Hey, this is going to be important. But I think little things, light's very important, having access to the outside. I think there are a lot of spiritual practices like walking meditation, which I like. No earbuds, right? Just go out and embed yourself in nature and have that kind of flow over you. And there's a great sense of relaxation. And then when you're relaxed, just like being in the shower, when you get good ideas, those ideas come to you. And so I think even from this is unfair, but a selfish profit maximizing perspective, I still want my people to be professionally, personally, and spiritually healthy because they're just going to perform better. It's the right thing to do from a human perspective, for sure. But even just I just want to maximize profits, I need to do that.
And even what you said before, taking that coaching approach, right? Like asking, like, well, what do you like to do where you feel really tapped in, or where you feel like you're connected to a deeper sense of meaning in life, or something bigger than yourself, or where you feel like creative ideas flow? Asking your team, what does that look like for you, and just maybe hearing those responses. I'm curious about how you talk about extraordinary experiences and tying that into happiness. I'm deeply, deeply intrigued by this notion of happiness, and that people are constantly striving to be happy. And I'm wondering if that's even a thing, because we are all here having a human experience, which involves many different things to me, aside from what I think of happiness as an emotion of being happy. So I have a lot to say. So let me try to get into a question. One thing that you particularly mentioned is, why isn't your job making you happy? And should we want our job to make us happy? And I'm even intrigued by make us happy. Can my job make me happy? Like all of that, unpacking all of that. Is there such thing as our jobs making us happy? Or is that some elusive thing that just exhausts us trying to strive for?
It's a really important question. So let me take it in several steps. So first of all, from a business perspective, my business religion is CLV, customer lifetime value. Right? I want to create so much delight, enjoyment, immersion that you go, holy crap, this was the most exciting thing I've done. I want to repeat it. I want to share it. So that's I think a key metric for the experience economy, that I'm doing the job well. Full stop. Second, for any experience I'm creating, I can add immersion to it by adding a social layer, right? So if I'm eating at a restaurant in person, that wait staff has a huge impact on how much I enjoy the meal, right? For sure. And so if we think about employees creating those extraordinary experiences for customers, it's not going to happen if I'm online at Amazon buying something. It's just functional. But I have a real opportunity to have those employees accentuate the experience of eating and hanging out with friends or whatever that is, wherever we land. So there's a real important role for employees to do that. Now what happens? Turns out that immersion, which is, again, this way the brain values social emotional experiences, is shared. It's contagious. So if that employee loves what they do and shares that with the customer, I'm raising the customer's immersion, but I'm also reflecting that back on the employee. Now the employee feels great. Wow, these customers really had a great time, and I could provide that for them. How nice is that? Right. So and I'm going to finish up on happiness in a second, but as a concrete example, I was traveling recently in a rural area and stopped at a diner at a kind of touristy area. I mean, like a truck stop kind of thing, travel plaza. And I had this, I don't know, 50-year-old waitress who was the best. She called me hun. She kept refilling my iced tea. She was a sweetheart. I just loved her. And she made this standard lunch on a truck stop on a freeway fabulous. That's what I'm talking about. She was in the perfect job. She liked to make people happy, and she did everything she could to make my lunch more pleasant by myself, traveling, in the middle of nowhere. So she got the satisfaction from that. Therefore, she wants to keep doing this job. She's getting that positive feedback from the customers, and the customers are giving positive. And I told her, I'm like, you're like the best. Like whatever. I'm going to come here whenever I travel. I'm stopping to see you. Like you're so wonderful. So, right, she's getting that positive feedback. So she's feeling good about herself. So the punchline here is, I do not think, based on the neuroscience, that your job should be making you happy, because jobs are effortful. They're taking all this energy. What they should do is have you feel satisfied at the end of the day that I did something valuable and important for my organization, for our customers, for my fellow employees. If I'm satisfied, that actually is a higher plane than just being happy. Happy is this acute state, but satisfied means I'm really flourishing, I'm thriving. And I think that's the goal for every organization, that our employees and our customers are thriving because of the product or service we provide and the way we provide it. Does that make sense? Feel free to push back, Amy Lynn. If you disagree, I'd love to hear your take on it.
I personally think that we aren't seeking happiness, we're seeking inner peace. And when you say satisfied, I'm satisfied with my day. I'm fulfilled. I have a sense of inner peace with that. When I have inner peace, I'm operating from my higher self, and I'm not a larger percentage of time. And then I can make wise and compassionate decisions for myself and for others. And that's really where burnout starts to decrease, is when we have leaders in the workplace that are making wise and compassionate decisions from this fulfilled or satisfied state, as you call it, because then they're making decisions that, like I said, are wise and compassionate, and they ripple out a little bit more. That's kind of what I got from everything that you shared on that with the spiritual intelligence lens. I want to talk about the extraordinary, the word extraordinary, the extraordinary experiences. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you say that's how to build a high performance workplace culture, is to create these extraordinary experiences. And full disclosure, when I was reading that, I was like, gosh, that kind of sounds exhausting. Like, if we're always having extraordinary experiences. And then I flashed to like, well, what about the IT guy I used to work with that just loved to be in the corner and like punch code in, or like, does he really want to have extraordinary experiences? So tell us a little bit more about what you mean when you talk about creating extraordinary experiences to have a healthy workplace culture.
Yeah. So again, I'm always going to come this from a brain perspective. So because we can measure the value a brain gets from the experiences, one question we asked is, if you're having these peak immersion moments, what does that mean for productivity, for job satisfaction, for turnover, for things like sick days, healthcare expenditures? And it turns out the more of these peak immersion experiences you have, the better you perform as an individual, both professionally and personally, perhaps even spiritually. We haven't measured that. But also the better the organization performs. And so I want to create, as a leader, I want to create opportunities for you to reach these stretch goals. They're like, holy crap, I never thought I could do this. That's kind of extraordinary experience. I put all this energy in. So I really think of that as the story you tell your spouse or your partner or your friends at the day's over. If you tell your friend, hey, how's work today? And you're like, I was so happy. I'm going to strangle you. I'm not happy. If you say, my organization is committed to this thing, and man, I moved the ball forward 3 steps. It was crazy hard, and it was just like, oh my, now you got a story. Now, what's the part of that? I got to know why my organization exists. So I'm a professor at Claremont Graduate University, and I overlapped with Peter Drucker, who was there for about 10 years before he passed away. And Peter wrote, I think in the 1960s, that its core, every organization's purpose is to improve people's lives. So knowing how your organization improves the lives of your customers, your stakeholders, and your employees, that's got to be a lived purpose. Every person should know that, every employee for sure, but also your customers should know that. So again, concrete example, The president of Trader Joe's, who grocery store took them national, Doug Rauch is a friend of mine, actually blurbed the Immersion book. And Doug said, when they went from a local Southern California chain to go national, they had to determine why they're special. Why shop at Trader Joe's? And he said, I realized that we were not a grocery store. We were an organization that brings happiness to our customers. And we do that by selling fun, quirky, moderately priced groceries. But our goal is to make it enjoyable to be there. And it gave lots of examples of things they do. For example, if you ask a question at Trader Joe's, where is the salsa? They walk you there. They don't say aisle 7. They walk you to the place in the shelf, right? Because that's going to make you happier and not. Otherwise, I'm frustrated. I'm looking aisle 7. Where the heck is it? There's those little things that speak to the purpose of the organization. And I'm a big believer. I call this transcendent purpose, right? Why are we actually here at all? And this applies to nonprofits, to government agencies. And I'm in organizations in which employees immediately know the purpose, I'm like, okay, these guys are rocking and rolling. They know what they're doing.
And I think you can take like those organizations that you step into, then it's like, how can we take this next level? I mean, I'm posing this question to everyone listening to think about. How can we take this next level to where we extend it beyond our teams, beyond the shareholders, where it's rippling out into communities, to the planet, and to humanity itself? And those experiences really do have that ripple effect. When people come home from work and they've had an amazing day, like you described, their home life is different. The vibe is different, if you will.
Yeah, they're better spouses, they're better parents, they're better citizens because they've done something extraordinary at work. They haven't been, what's the converse? I've been beat up at work and now I'm cranky and unhappy and not nice to be around. So from a neuroscience perspective, what we've seen is that when you have enough of these peak immersion experiences, you kind of expand the brain's capacity to be present and to be emotionally open, right? Those are the components of immersion. And so I think there's almost a sacred duty from leaders to provide opportunities for peak immersion experiences for employees and for customers, because my religion is CLV, so that we're actually improving the planet, right? And by the way, being totally profitable.
You've shared a little bit already, but could you give us maybe like, if someone's listening and I'm thinking myself, what are one or two ways we can start creating peak experiences with our teams? Maybe like one tip.
Yeah, really, I think the clarifying for everybody what our transcendent purpose is really important. But the second is to really think about setting goals in conjunction with employees, as opposed to this top down, having that discussion one-on-one and talk about where that employee wants to be. So I like this provocative question, which is, what do you want to be doing in the next year, right? A year from now. And sometimes people say, I'd really like to work for Google or Meta. I'm like, oh, I know people there. I can connect you, right? Sometimes it's like, I'm kind of maxed out here. I want to know that before you're just frustrated, you perform badly. And by the way, if you get a job at Google, now I got a guy at Google I can call up if you want to do a project with Google, right? So I think we've really got to be invested in people and not in processes. Although processes are important, but people are more important.
I need to draw a card from my journal prompt card deck for everyone. Message from the universe today for this amazing conversation. But I can't help but go back to ask one more question that's just like niggling at me. In regards to the rapid and consistent feedback, I hear a lot about the art of feedback. I hear a lot of experts talk about feedback and how necessary it is. What is a recommend that you have to someone that can improve on their feedback? What if someone's like, I'm trying to give feedback, it doesn't land, or I'm more just rapidly firing out what needs to change with some constructive criticism? When we talk about rapid and consistent, how does somebody do that where the person receiving the feedback feels good?
This may shock listeners, but I say you have to give that feedback with love. You've got to think about it from the person receiving a perspective. How do I help you as a leader become a more successful employee? How do I help you grow? And if I do it with care, with love, and love in the philia sense, right? That I really am invested in you as a human being, and I want to make sure you're successful here and in life. I think that's the most important thing, right? It's not barking out orders, it's not yelling at people. It's working on a system to help this person be successful because you hired them. And so if they're not successful, it's your responsibility. So either find them a different position, find them additional training. I think it's really incumbent on you to give that advice with love. And by the way, Amy Lynn, like you, I have fired hundreds of people. Most of those people are still friends of mine because we have a conversation and go, gosh, man, I thought you'd be perfect here. This would be great. You seem really frustrated. You're not meeting your milestones. Maybe it just was a bad fit. Like, you're a fine person. This just didn't end up being the right fit for you. And so, yeah, happy to pay you for another month or whatever and recommend you for jobs. But I just don't think this is the right fit. And I'm sorry, we both thought it was a good fit, but ultimately I made you a job offer and bad on me. I mean, if you're stealing, I'll fire you today and I won't worry about it. But that's pretty rare, actually. It's people who just don't seem to fit in sometimes, but they're fine people. So to me, that also is firing with love. Like, I really care about you as a human being, and we can part friends. In fact, a lot of some businesses, as you know, will actually celebrate when people leave. Like, hey, we were so excited. We're going to have cake and balloons, and we love you. You're going to a new place, and the next opportunity, good for you. I think that's really important to celebrate the investment all these people made to help our organization be successful.
Really good way to frame it. And I think what comes up when utilizing that approach and practicing that approach is it helps everyone separate their identity from their job. I mean, what a gift, right? It's like, oh, I'm not that. That's not my worth. That doesn't define my worth. And now I'm on this journey and I can go to the next stop of my journey without being stuck. So that's what came up for me when you were sharing that.
Perfect. You said it much better than I did. So yeah, just what you said is perfect.
Thank you. All right, let's see what message we get today.
Why am I worried about this, Amy Lynn?
No,
I don't know
no,
why.
you're going to
This
be.
seems
And
stressful.
this is really cool because we were talking about the break and we got body movement. So interesting when we were talking about people that sit in trainings for 8 hours and things like that. And we're talking about tapping into spirituality and getting out into nature, what works for us. So the affirmation for everyone listening is, when I move my body, I feel more vitality in my life. Paul, what is one thing all of us can do this week to move our body? And I'm going to tie it into to move our body to have an extraordinary immersive experience.
My recommendation, which I have done regularly, is to have walking meetings with your direct reports. Go outside, walk. It stimulates oxygen flow to the brain. You get new ideas. We're moving around. It's a brilliant idea. What I'll do is I'll meet early, and then I'll bring in, bagels and coffee and orange juice. So I'm going to buy you breakfast. You're going to get here early, and we're going to walk for half an hour, or 45 minutes, whatever, and discuss work, but also get to know each other a little better.
Love it. Love it. And try it virtually too, right? Executive coaches all the time do walking sessions with their clients all over. Let's patch in on the phone. You go to nature, I go to nature. We'll walk together during session. So don't limit yourself if you're geographically separated. Also, try something fun in that way. Thank you for inspiring everyone with that tip. Paul, if people want to connect with you, read your book, learn more about having extraordinary immersive experiences, how can they get a hold of you, connect with you, all the things?
Be happy to talk to anybody who's listening to this. You can find our company at getimmersion.com, immersion with an I, and our free app for emotional fitness is at besttuesdayever.com.
Best Tuesday ever. Love it. Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes. And I didn't think Tuesdays could get any better since they have Taco Tuesdays now, but I'm intrigued. I knew the Best Tuesday Ever was there. Everyone check that out in the show notes for sure.
Well, I'm measuring my immersion and my psychological safety now, and they're both doing fabulous with our app. So I had an extraordinary experience. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you for being a guest, and thank you for sending some magic to everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.